Welcome to the HealthLinks podcast, presented by the HealthLinks family of services. I'm your host, DJ Thatcher. Our mission here is to engage in conversations about the medical, health, and wellness landscape of South Carolina so that we're all better informed. You know, when people think about the most important things in life besides their own health, generally it's family, children if they have any, and that sort of thing. And that's what this episode is all about. We're showcasing Family Connection of South Carolina, and we're being joined today by its Chief Executive Officer, Amy Holbert. Amy, welcome to the HealthLinks podcast.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
So, Amy, I bet there are a lot of people out there who maybe have never heard of Family Connection of South Carolina. And hey, tell us a bit about it, what it's all about.
Sure. Family Connection is a statewide nonprofit. We are South Carolina's parent center and have two designations where we help families who are raising a child or caring for a child or young adult with a chronic health condition, disability, or behavioral health concern. We help them navigate the healthcare and educational systems as they have that journey in raising their child through ages birth to 26.
Wow. You know, you talk about, or just that word navigate struck me in that it can be a maze, whether it's talking about children's services or anything else. I mean, the healthcare system can be a little bit hard to navigate. So good for you. Now, you mentioned you have a dozen locations throughout South Carolina. Is that correct?
So we actually are all over South Carolina. We have we provide several different types of support and educational services. So I have folks that are located from the upstate all the way down to the low country. So it's easy to get in touch with us, and we can actually then connect you with someone in your own community.
Terrific. Now, of course, the organization is Family Connection of South Carolina. Are you part of a larger network or a national network?
So that's a great question. So actually, one of our federal designations, we are the Family to Family Health Information Center and the Family Voices affiliate for South Carolina, which does have a national office called Family Voices. Each one of the states has a Family to Family Health Information Center, as well as we are South Carolina's Parent Training and Information Center, which is a federal grant designation under the Office of Special Education Services at the U.S. Department of Ed. And so we are the only PTI for short, Parent Training Information Center in South Carolina.
Okay. So now, do you specialize only with families or for families with children with problems or disabilities or other issues? Or tell us a little bit about more about the organization and how any parent might benefit.
Absolutely. So any parent can call us. We are as I have spoken before, what makes us a little different and special is that we are parents ourselves that have raised or are in the process of raising our own children that have a chronic health condition or a disability or behavioral health concern. We provide peer support services, which is through our navigation services. And oftentimes we get calls from families that maybe have a concern about their child, but don't really know where to turn, or how to get evaluated, how to access services. So there's no eligibility criteria for receiving our support services. And we're not diagnosis specific, which means that we can serve any kind of chronic health condition or diagnoses.
Wow. Okay. It's a bit overwhelming, everything that you do offer. In fact, I've got the website pulled up here on the side, and we'll put that website, scroll along the bottom here for a moment as well. You talk about healthcare and education and training and resources and so forth. What are some of the other specific things that you're involved with?
Sure. I think that, our services, I like to say they kind of fall into three different buckets, right? So the first are some of those one-on-one services that families think about, the navigation services. We have a healthcare side of our shop as well as an education side of our shop.
Okay.
And then the trainings are across all topics that might, families and or professionals that are serving our families might want to learn about a particular topic, and or we provide that training to professionals around what it feels like to sit on the other side of, that diagnosis table, how to navigate, maybe how to see something through the parent's lens. What is it like as that caregiver? And then we have kind of that community-based outreach services where we offer different types of opportunity. I'm going to start over. Our outreach side of the shop.
Just go back and just start that sentence again. We'll cut it right there. So you're good.
I got tangled in my head.
I do it all the time.
And then our third bucket really is providing outreach and resources across lots of different types of either learning platforms or digital platforms, because sometimes you might just want to know where to turn, or you might just want to learn more about a specific diagnosis, for instance. We have a calendar of events where people can send in events. And so families that might be in the upstate want to go take a day, and take their child to Charleston, but want to know maybe where there's something going on, or an adaptive playground, for instance. So really what we try to do is be a one-stop shop for families and looking at resources and where they can go and find information, not just to learn about a particular problem or issue, but really to advocate for an inclusive community for us to all be able to enjoy and our kids to thrive and become the best person and have the opportunities that we all want for our kids to grow up, be happy, be educated, have a job, be satisfied, and reach their full potential.
Prioritize your health with a subscription to HealthLinks magazine. Get every issue of HealthLinks delivered right to your door for only $15.99 a year. 6 issues packed full of local factual health information to help you be the best version of yourself in 2024. Subscribe now to HealthLinks magazine. Visit subscribehealthlinks.com. That's subscribehealthlinks.com. HealthLinks magazine, the Low Country's prescription for well-being. You're watching the HealthLinks podcast.
You told me you have your own tribe that is part of your family. And so this is not just a job. This is actually your life as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. I am the mother to 2 biological sons and 3 bonus children. And my 2 sons both have chronic health and behavioral health conditions. And so that is the lens that, despite the fact that I am a licensed pediatric clinical social worker, I come at this work through the lens of a parent first and being Andrew and Evan's mom. And I know what it's like when a mom calls up and she's had that, sat by that infant in the neonatal intensive care unit, because I've been there with her. So, and that's what all of the folks that work for Family Connection and provide that one-on-one direct practice service support and navigation are also all parents of children with a disability or chronic health condition.
Wow. Looks like this was meant to be. It's a real calling. I mean, tell us more about your professional background. That's really interesting that you have that as well. And then, of course, with your children, and now this connection with Family Connection.
Absolutely. I feel like my children have kind of dictated the course of my own professional life. When my oldest son got sick as a young infant, I, one day as a pediatric social worker, got called to our outpatient peds clinic to meet with a family. I was just providing coverage, and I so identified this mom had a child with chronic asthma, had been in the hospital, been discharged, and I was trying to help her kind of get some things in place for home. And I found myself identifying with the struggle and her fears, what it was like to sit by a child who was chronically ill and being, concerned, and realized that I want to help other families like that in my professional capacity. And now, several years later, I won't tell you how many, but Andrew might be in his 20s now. So just found myself going from direct practice into then working in public health in our maternal child health world, and ensuring that we have risk appropriate care for high risk moms that are pregnant and babies that are born too soon, like my second child. So all of those different times, periods in my own life led me to the work that we're doing here at Family Connection. And with my younger son, navigating school was more difficult for him. And I get the opportunity to tell other parents, even though I'm a social worker and I have referred people to different resources, my entire career, when my youngest son started struggling in school, I didn't know what to do. I'm his mama. I'm not his social worker. I'm not his, teacher, right? And we all need that help. And so disability and health, and this, they don't discriminate. So, sometimes we don't know the questions to ask, right? Folks are always like, oh, we want to give information out to patients. We want to give information out.
Right.
But when you're going through it, you don't even know where to turn sometimes. And that's what we've really tried to do at Family Connection, is give you a place and a person who can, first of all, listen to you and identify and support you there first. And then be able to perhaps help you come up with those questions to ask to really then either understand or find the services and supports that you need.
Now, I'm wondering how long Family Connection of South Carolina has been around. I don't know if you were a client first and then began to work there and became the CEO, or what was that journey like?
So you are so good at this, let me tell you. So Family Connection, we have been
curious.
we have been in business for over 32 years now.
Wow.
And I actually, when my younger son was in the neonatal intensive care unit at birth, because we actually at Family Connection also have support parents that will support moms and dads and caregivers that have a child in the NICU. And at the time, my child was born here in Columbia. We're based out of Columbia. And Becky Brown was my support parent, who I was crying this day, and I'd gotten some bad news about my son at the time, and didn't want to leave the hospital. And oftentimes it's when you see someone crying or upset and you turn and you're embarrassed and, you don't want to talk necessarily. My support parent, Becky Brown, came up to me at the time, and she just sat down beside of me. She put her hand on my shoulder. She didn't even need to have any words, right? Because she couldn't give me any guarantees that my son was going to be okay. But she sat there with me in that time of fear, honestly, and and I just needed her presence there with me. Wow. And then fast forward, I guess about Evan was probably 13 when I started at Family Connection. So, a little over a decade later, I get to come to Family Connection and be in the leadership role here. And Becky Brown was still working for Family Connection, still supporting families in the neonatal intensive care unit after all those years, and did up until the time that she retired, and had been here 29 years. So I know, pretty amazing.
Becky,
yeah. Well, she too, like so many of us, has a wonderful daughter who is doing great and is a social worker in a doctor's office. Who she advocated for her daughter, and really, our children have where we have to advocate for services or for an understanding. She was a trailblazer, like so many parents before her, and of course afterwards. But so yes, I did receive support services for Family Connection when my youngest son was born.
Thinking about your situation there, you're describing, families that are in these hospitals, especially the intensive care units. Are the hospitals pretty good about knowing what resources are out there, such as Family Connection, or do you do a lot of outreach to them, or how does that work?
So we do a lot of outreach and a lot of work. I will tell you, in pediatrics, my experience professionally as well as a parent is that South Carolina has a pretty nice network with and an active, an American Academy of Pediatrics. I will say that, with changes and, new staff and as the years go on and as we have grown since I've been here in the past 10 years. But we have actually partnerships and with our children's hospitals, as well as in our Greenville and our Charleston children's hospitals, and our developmental pediatric clinics we have on site. Also in our Spartanburg area there. So we have excellent relationships. I will say, though, interesting enough, that about a little over half of all of the referrals that we get for our one-on-one services are from parents themselves, right? Seeking and looking, finding us either word of mouth, finding us, in their searches online, or social media. So I have found that to be super interesting, as a social worker that has worked in a hospital setting and made those referrals for support services, that parents are looking for that information on their own. Wow. So now on the education side, because we are South Carolina's only and parent training and information center, which is a federal designation it actually falls in statute under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. And that is the federal law that requires all public schools to provide a free and appropriate education for all students. Okay. And so a lot of times our families will find us, and they can find us, if their child receives an individualized education plan, for instance, they might find our name and information on that particular plan. And then they, outreach us for information or to attend an IEP meeting with them or a school meeting. So there are lots of different ways, but I think that kind of the underlying mission for us is really to help parents not just understand where to find the resources, but also how to communicate effectively with the different types of service providers and the different systems that, we have to navigate with our children. Okay.
Yeah. Tell us more about some of the trainings and the workshops you provide. I know it's not only for the parents, but also for other professionals, right?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I don't believe I've said this, but all of our services currently are at no cost to parents.
I was going to ask you that, but okay.
Yes, there's no cost for a parent to attend one of our trainings or to call up or make a referral online to have one of our peer support, family education or family support specialists call or work with you, or even to attend an IEP or a school meeting with them. Wow. So as long as we continue to, receive the support and the funding that we are funded through, grants and donations and contracts for our services, which allows us that opportunity. However, our trainings last year, we trained thousands of parents and professionals every year. Currently, however, we are in the midst of training series that we have been doing to help raise awareness around 2 educational laws that serve vulnerable families and children, called the McKinney-Vento Law and IDEA, which I've mentioned, which is serving kids with disability. McKinney-Vento is the federal law that ensures that students that are identified as having housing insecurity are, making sure that they have access to their schools, that they can continue to participate in sports, receive tutoring, to receive those services. So
that term housing insecurity, really homeless kids, right? I mean, there are quite a few.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say that a lot of times what we've learned through this training process, right now we're looking, we have our last training coming up September the 18th in Summerville, South Carolina at the Low Country Conference Center. It's at no cost. You can go online and register to attend. The target audience there really are professionals for this training series. However, because what we want folks to know is that there are actual resources available that and funding through these two laws, that if you access services at the school or ask for them, that our students that are identified as homeless under the McKinney-Vento Act and or have a disability, that there are resources available. You ask about, or you said housing insecurity, and brought up the definition of homelessness and that word. A lot of times, one of the biggest pieces and things that I've learned through this training process is that the definition of homelessness under the McKinney-Vento Act is broader than that we typically think about. Typically we think about someone that is homeless under the, I guess that probably brings up lots of images for your listeners and for folks,
Sure.
right? But under the McKinney-Vento Act, it can be, for instance, maybe it's a mom who has children and is living with her parents or living with friends, for instance, and doesn't own their house. And the definition allows for that particular child or student to potentially qualify under the Act to receive some additional supports and services.
Okay.
And so it doesn't just mean like they have to be living in a shelter or living in a park, or their car to qualify under the McKinney-Vento Act. And so that's been a really big educational point, I think, and kind of aha moment as we've been doing these trainings across the state.
Yeah, we're not aware of the suffering a lot of people are going through, the struggles that a lot of people are going through. So yeah, thanks for highlighting that. You got this great backdrop, much better than mine. And I'm betting those aren't all your own tribe there at your family, right?
No.
What are those images?
But I would take them. They're precious. But thank you so much.
Yeah.
So the images are from an annual photography event that we host at Family Connection called the Look event. And this event has been near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love it. We look for and ask, we put out a calling, and actually, if you're family or if you're a photographer and you want to participate after this, please go to our website and sign up. But we look for families that would like an opportunity to showcase and tell their child's story, or their young person who might want to participate as well and tell his or her story. We match them with a professional photographer, a South Carolina photographer, typically try to find one in their area. So this is a statewide event. These are kids from all over South Carolina. And we pair them, and then they meet with the photographer, discuss kind of what is it that, that either the child would like to convey, but it's a storytelling event, so that we raise awareness to show that our kids with disabilities, they all look different. They have different interests. They are living in your community. You see our little young fella, they play the piano. And I was inspired by, to begin this event from actually a former support parent in the upstate of South Carolina who was a photographer herself, and thought, well, gosh, this would be kind of a fun thing to do, maybe a fundraiser, for us. As over the years, it really has changed into an awareness campaign. And there are stories that go along with it. The pictures, when they are displayed, we typically have anywhere from 75 to 80 families that participate every year. The photographs are all beautiful and black and white. We always have over 40 photographers, which we are so fortunate. And in the 6 years I've been doing this, we now are having photographers that come back every year and want the opportunity to give back and to meet with a family and to help that family and that young person tell their story.
Wow.
But it's to show you that that our kids are out there and thriving, and it's to be celebrated, not to feel sorry for our kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
We are our kids are beautiful and just like everybody else's. And so we really enjoy this. And I encourage anybody that's listening or watching online to please go to our website. We are taking applications right now for photographers as well as for families that would like to participate. So I appreciate your mentioning that. It really is. And then every year we have an opening night, and then the photographs are on display. And this year we had our opening night in Columbia. Mm-hmm. And currently right now, if you wanted to see them all hanging up, it really is breathtaking to walk in to see, a venue where you have 80 beautiful black and white photographs that are all beautifully done. And there's QR codes on the actual photographs that take you back to the child's story, so that the photograph actually is helping to augment the story that the family wants, or that the young adult has told the photographer.
Wow. Well, the website is amazing. It's very colorful. It's well done. And the photography on there is great as well. So check that out. Of course, we have that right down below here. Well, we've been spending time here with the Chief Executive Officer of Family Connection of South Carolina, Amy Holbert. Amy, thank you so much for joining us here on the HealthLinks podcast. And speaking of websites, this podcast is part of the HealthLinks family of services, and you can access anything related to HealthLinks South Carolina on our website here at healthlinkssc.com. And also you can check out other podcasts that we have. There are about 100 in our library now, and you can check out any of those just by putting that / podcasts with an S at the end. And to reach me directly, perhaps for comments or questions about our guest, maybe suggestions for future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach me directly at host@healthlinkssc.com as well. So once again, I'm DJ Thatcher. Thank you so much for joining us.